Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Ghost Rider Volume 3, issue number 8, cover dated December 1990. The cover is by Javier Saltares, pencils and inks by him, and we have the caption Living Nightmare, and an interesting kind of phantasmagoric cover with Blackout looming over a chained Danny Ketch there, and over his shoulder we have Ghost Rider himself as well as Deathwatch, and it's unclear who this is. Perhaps it's supposed to be Danny's dead sister Barb, because in the previous issue Blackout killed her in the hospital by ripping out her throat, which was pretty gruesome and macabre, and we're going to have the aftermath of that in this particular issue. So let's open this one up to the first page. And we have a splash. Now, I love that splash. That is excellent. So the title of the story, Living Nightmare, that's coming from the cover caption. And we have our creative team down here: Howard Mackie writer, Javier Saltares penciler, Mark Texeira inker, Janice Chang letterer, and Gregory Wright colorist rounds out the creative team. Like I said, really love this. Little echoes of Hamlet there, with Danny in the biker garb and holding up the flaming skull of the Ghost Rider and dialoguing with it and asking a very Hamlet-like question: why me? And of course Hamlet is a revenge tragedy, and Danny, possessed by the Ghost Rider, is the spirit of vengeance. And what does the Ghost Rider have to say in response? Why you? There is no you, Dan. There's just us. We're inseparable. We need each other. So at this point we still don't have the full story in relation to exactly what is the nature of this new Ghost Rider, different from the one that formerly possessed Johnny Blaze. So we're learning with every passing issue what's up. And this one begins in psychedelic, phantasmagoric fashion. Danny throws the skull away, exclaiming, "No, I don't need you. I don't need the motorcycle." He yells, "And I don't want either of you in my life anymore. All you've brought is sorrow and pain." "Need, want," says the skull. "You think that either of us has a choice, Dan?" That's interesting. So no choices. There are far greater forces at work here than either of us has control over, boy. So that's the mystery. What are those far greater forces? And then this is a cool idea from Saltares in respect of the storytelling, that the skull falls on the ground and then a full skeleton emerges from out of the ground connected to the skull. I just think one more panel to really sell that, what's going on there, would have been better. And I do like the visual of the Ghost Rider minus the biker garb, just this flaming skeleton entirely. It's very, very cool. And the Ghost Rider continues and says, argumentatively, "I didn't bring the sorrow and pain into your life. It was there and you needed me to deal with it, and I came. Our fates were sealed the moment you put your blood-stained hands on the motorcycle that night in the junkyard. Without me and the motorcycle you so abhor, your sister would have died that night." So this is all reference back to issue number 1. The Ghost Rider transforms the bike, or creates the bike, and rides astride it towards Danny as he runs away. "But she died anyway. You didn't help her." And the Ghost Rider replies, "You didn't let me. You fight me too much. Stop resisting the transformation. You can't run from it or me forever. We are one." So this has been the tension of the opening issues of the series. Danny is still reluctant to give in to the transformation, and he comes across this horrifying marriage atop this hill, this junkyard hill. You see the tires and bits of junk there. And what's happening at the top of the hill is there is a service. Someone's reading from a menu, and it's his sister Barb. And so Danny's shocked. "You're still alive," he exclaims, but she's crying. Turn the page. Who's she marrying? It is Blackout, her murderer. And of course, he's after Danny in particular because the Ghost Rider destroyed his face. You can see the left-hand side of his face. Blackout there is delivering the ceremony, or presiding over it rather. And he asks, "Is there anyone here to object to this marriage?" And Danny objects. He killed her. And Blackout responds, "That's right, Danny. And I'll keep doing so every night of your life. Her blood will be in my mouth and on your hands, and I'll keep coming." That's really dark stuff. He's standing there, arms outspread. "You do this to my face, so I'm going to hurt so many people around you that you won't be able to stand to look at your own face. You won't be able to talk to anyone, Dano," he says, "for fear that I might kill them, and you'd be right." And the Ghost Rider has a proposition. "Let me help you, Dan. Join me and we can stop him and all like him." And then this is really, really interesting, because Danny's father is dead and he appears in this psychedelic, phantasmagoric situation. "Listen to him, son. Do as he says, for me." So what is all that about? Why is the father appearing in this dream vision and recommending that Danny follow the Ghost Rider's advice? You know, there's almost a hint there, like if you really wanted a wild conjecture, that the Ghost Rider is Dan's father and has made a deal with some metaphysical being to become the spirit of vengeance. I don't know. It's interesting though. Why is the father there in the background? We don't get a good look at him either. And so Danny decides, having heard his dad's advice, "I'll join you, demon, but on my terms. I want some control from now on." Or another conjecture I have is maybe the father was made some deal with someone else that the Ghost Rider would be conjoined with his son. Maybe something like that. That's my conjecture at this point anyway. But it's very interesting. And one more page of this dream vision, and this is difficult to draw. Look at that. So we have the skeleton there on the pedal of the motorbike as it's racing towards Blackout. And Blackout there is raging, "Control, child, you know nothing of control. I'm the master of your fate, Dan, Ghost Rider. I and all those like me. All you can do is react to the carnage that we create. React and avenge. But what vengeance does a bloodied corpse desire? So all you can really do is to provide us with our next victims. You can't stop us, Ghost Rider, because you're one of us." And I like the visual of the split between Danny and the Ghost Rider there as they fall down from the hill. And then Danny wakes up and he's in his mother's house. And the mother there, of course, is worried about him, the bad dreams he's been having since his sister died. And she recommends that maybe he go talk to Father MacDonald. He might be able to help. This is a really nice panel here where Danny's looking out the slat of the Venetian blind, and he decides, or he says rather, that his sister was murdered and her murderer is still out there. So he grabs his leather jacket, heads out into the night. He says he's going to Stacy's, his girlfriend. "If that cursed motorcycle hadn't come into my life," he thinks to himself going out the door, "everything would be all right. Barb would still be alive." Yeah, but she'd be in a coma still. And now, here's what's interesting. Mackie bringing in a new cast of characters, or a new set of characters, better to say. And their leader is making a presentation at the Cypress Hills Community Action Group. And the Community Action Group has been looking for some help. And this woman here has presented them with their terms. "We will handle your problem," she says to them, "on our terms and our terms alone." So there's an objector there, and she says to him, "Mr. Stein, the price and all terms are non-negotiable. You came to us because you had a problem. My organization can solve your problems on our terms." So this is the neighborhood. The neighborhood is going to hell recently. So this woman slamming her fists on the table. "Harry, how can you quibble over money? We've got to think of the children. We've raised the money. Let's sign. My daughter, Pauline," she featured in the first issue. "Maybe they can find her, and she disappeared at the end of issue 3. The implication is Blackout killed her. I leave it up to you." Or maybe Death Watch, actually. "I leave it up to you," she says. 10 minutes later, out she goes to this van parked outside the Community Action Group building. Who's inside? A bunch of women. And she says, "We have a go. Radio in all HEART units. We start tonight. Let's begin by finding this Ghost Rider." Okay, so, there are... Mackie's following up the consequences of what's been going on in Danny's neighborhood, and how maybe people like an action group would look to solve the issue themselves, since the police are having no success. But we'll see exactly what all of this amounts to a little later in the issue. And then elsewhere, Danny's there with his girlfriend Stacy, and he's thinking about going to a movie. So he goes up to the newsstand man, who happens to be blind, which I think is interesting, that a newsstand vendor would be blind. How does he know which issues are what, or which ones are out of date, and so on and so forth? In any case, Danny says to him, "Mr. Larson, I'm going to grab a daily news." So the news vendor knows him. Me and Georgie are closing up shop a little early, he says. Business being slow and all. Just ain't a lot of people out and about lately. And he tells them to be careful. It's very dark. And Stacy's reading the newspaper, not just for the movie listings. And she says, "It says here that a girl was murdered right outside of Lom's Chinese restaurant last night. Her throat was ripped out. We ate there last night. Isn't that eerie?" she says. "Yeah, eerie," says Danny. So was Blackout in his dream vision speaking the truth of what he's actually doing? This is a great page here. All horizontal panels. And again, we get to see Gregory Wright, his contribution with the warm orange of the lit newsstand, and then the cool blues and greys of Blackout and his power. So the dog is alert to him, and then the dog is growling, and then it cries out and stops. It's dead. And so the man says, he calls out for his dog, "Where are you, boy? Who's there? What do you want?" And then we just see his glasses knocked onto the ground. A little sound effect there, tink. So he's dead. Next up, what's Danny and Stacy been to see at the movies? Die Hard 2. So again, that gives you a picture of the time period 1990, and Danny asking Stacy, or saying to her, "I thought it was as good as the first one. What do you think?" And she says, "It's more your kind of movie, Dan. I'd have preferred to have seen RoboCop, because her father is a cop and she is training to be a police woman herself at the academy. What do you want to do now?" she asks him, and he says, "I thought I'd stop by the church and see Father MacDonald." So she doesn't mind that. So in he goes. She's waiting out there at the car, and the priest is happy to see him. "Good to see you. Your mother was hoping you'd stop by. What can I do for you?" And Danny's thinking, he's thinking, "I was too short with my mom earlier. This should make her feel better. Shouldn't have any problem explaining to my parish priest that I've occasionally been possessed by some sort of demonic spirit of vengeance, and that one of its enemies killed my sister." So is he going to confide in the priest? So he hesitates there, and he doesn't. He switches tack. He says, "I just want to thank you for all the support you've given us since Barb's death." So the priest there puts a hand on his shoulder, walks him out. "Are you sure that's it, Daniel? Your mother tells me that you've been plagued by nightmares. She thinks you may be blaming yourself for your sister's death. I'm not going to push you, but I want you to know the church doors are always open, and I'll be here whenever you need me." So Danny walks down the steps to Stacy. Minutes later, there's a figure at the door. Love the way the shadow is cast all the way up the aisle there. The priest thinks it might be Daniel. It's dark, of course. Whoever it is goes into the confession box. He thinks he understands. It's easier to speak about what's bothering you in the sanctuary of the confessional. Let us begin. And then these hands emerge and go for his throat, his neck, crack. So this is the blood here. So he's dead. Let's get past the advertisements, and then we're back in the dream vision territory again. And atop the hill, there is the Ghost Rider, Blackout, Death Watch, and in the background in silhouette, Danny exclaims, "No, not my father." So intriguing, very, very interesting. What is all this implying about Danny's father? Was he a bad man in life? Like, we don't know anything. We're just picking it up issue to issue. Your daddy is one of us, lad. says Blackout. He made you what you are, what you will become. Again, that's what I was conjecturing. Is the father down in hell? Did he make a deal with a demon, a metaphysical being? Is he in purgatory? Again, that would be like the Hamlet dimension of things. The father could be a soul in purgatory that made a deal or something or other. That subtext of Hamlet in the background there is intriguing to me. But in any case, Danny there is appalled. He doesn't understand. What do you mean? He says. Look around you, Dano, says Blackout. Look at the road you'll be travelling. It's all you're doing, boyo. I'll just help you along a bit. So is the implication he's going to become a monster? And he wakes up and there's more horrifying news on the TV. And it's about the residents of Brooklyn and Queens still being in shock after the latest in a string of murders plaguing the two boroughs. The police have no leads in the mutilation murders of Father Michael MacDonald and newspaper vendor Theodore Larson. So no comments from the police about the possible connection between the two, but all leads are being pursued. So Danny here, he vowed off the motorcycle, but he's going back to it again. He says, I don't know what's happening, Stace, to his girlfriend, but I'm going to find out. And there's the bike in their garage. So here we go. Here's these new characters introduced. The HERT Corp. And what does it stand for? Humans Engaging All Racial Terrorism. That's a pretty weird name for a corporation. And we get more information about them. A for-profit organization consisting of highly trained individuals, highly trained in all aspects of combat and warfare, highly trained women. So kind of strange. Out they come from the van in their particular costumes, with their equipment as well, and they sound off their names and we get information about what their specialities are. And their leader is Tyler Marr, Field Commander, and she says, we want to learn the extent of what the subject can do. They're after the Ghost Rider. Stay in contact and do not engage. So off they go. So they're in the background of what's going to be happening subsequently. So Danny's out on the bike. Is it you, Blackout? He asks. Have you moved from my dreams too? And then he hears a scream. So the hand goes onto the gas cap and the transformation happens. We're still not getting a horrifying flesh melting transformation. That's going to come in time. But for the moment, we just have this transition between his burning face and the sound effect. And the fact that we get a nice anchor image here as he is fully transformed into the spirit of vengeance, and we get his first person thoughts. I ride again blindly towards an unknown enemy, towards vengeance. So there's screaming in the bushes. This girl has been pulled in to the bushes. It looks like it's the graveyard again, the cemetery. So Ghost Rider sends his chain in and hits some kind of monster in there with more than 2 sets of eyes and a big gaping maw of fangs. And the Ghost Rider's thinking, the rage builds inside me. It brings me to the brink of remembering. Remembering what? And then the monster talks, another of his creations, one of his slaves. We won't let you take the girl to him, monster. It's words, says Ghost Rider to himself. What is it talking about? It doesn't matter. Only vengeance matters. And then Ghost Rider's hit, punched in the skull face. Let's continue the story. These pages are kind of stuck together a bit. There we go. Oh yeah. So everything goes dark. It's Blackout. The girl is running, but she runs right into Blackout, and he says to her, you never know what you might run into. Or he says, better give the whole lot of it. You mustn't race around in the dark, dear. You never know what you might run into. That's a really effective page. Love the colours there. Those cool blues, purples. Good stuff from Greg Wright. That's a really great image there of Blackout, mostly in silhouette. And now another page of layouts where it's all horizontal panels. So we get a fight between Ghost Rider, and we get to see him here in this big anchor image, this monstrous figure. This is an interesting panel here with the fist and the kapow either side of it. And Ghost Rider thinking the strength of this creature is admirable, but my thirst for vengeance is not so easily checked. Now, creature, he says aloud, give yourself over to me. The spirit of vengeance will have his due tonight. Fight if you will, but I will taste your corrupted soul. And the Ghost Rider thinks to himself, soul. So that's intriguing. He's got this four-armed beast caught by two of his hands in any case. And the creature begs for help. Help me, Alex. This monster has me bound. Stop him before he takes me back to Mask. So Mask is a familiar name to Marvel readers from the X-Men comics, a Morlock. And so are these Morlocks mutants? So the creature that he was calling out to seems to come to his aid. It's this, I don't know, it's like a liquid, like a sentient liquid. And it says, Mask, yes, Mask, demon, my sister has escaped. We've cheated Mask again. So what is going on? It's mysterious, it's a little confusing. Ghost Rider picks up his chain. I must go now, it's the time. But I will return to this place again. Vengeance will be mine tomorrow and forever. And has he been surveilled? Well, it seems so, because he's on a big screen there. And the HERT women are pleased with what they've learned from their reconnaissance. Very good. Let's run all the collected data through the computers. See if there's any information on this Ghost Rider that we can pick up. How do we proceed? Asks one of them. We kill him, of course. Okay, so the Ghost Rider has increasing problems. Next issue, HERT, Corp, Blackout, and X-Factor in a battle beneath the cemetery. So we can see this is a weird crossover, unexpected. Ghost Rider crossing over with X-Factor. In 1 month, Ghost Rider returns to the cemetery to save some of those Morlock folk. It ghost stars X-Factor and HERT, plus the diabolical Blackout. It's an all-out underground brawl you don't want to miss. So, like I said, unexpected crossover with X-Factor. Intriguing though. Letters here about issue number 5. Some theories about Johnny Blaze and Zarathos. Because as I said while reviewing this issue, it's all a mystery about who exactly this new Spirit of Vengeance is and what exactly is the nature of his bonding with Danny Ketch. Why Danny Ketch specifically? There you go. I do hope you enjoyed my review of Ghost Rider number 8. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.